My name's Angus Duddy and this is my father Clive. We are on a property called Rossmar Park between Karoona and Breeza. This property's a broadacre farming block, also running cattle. We farm about 1,700 hectares. The family's been farming here since the late 30s. This farm was a conventional farm. Sheep grazed this land and then the land was tilled and sown. Ever since that time, basically farming's taken a natural course of evolution. Rossmar Park is bounded by the Mukai River on the eastern side and we have Gurran Lake to our west. There's 54,000 hectares of catchment above us, at which at times when it decides to rain, our farming country basically goes underwater. Our biggest problem here when we were conventionally farming was soil erosion.
It was more erosion when you worked it very fine, and then when you start minimum till, it seems to be a lot better job.
One of the largest shifts with the way we manage our land is the reduction in the silt deposits. Basically now with the land being consistently covered, we find the water moves at a far slower rate and the silt deposit and the erosion is significantly reduced. Basically now we burn less fuel and seem to use more chemical. No one's happy using chemical, but then we're not happy seeing the country disappear either. I think that's probably the biggest shift for us. Is the timing, the improved timing, having available moisture seems to make all the difference for us. This was the first block that we basically went zero till with. I couldn't understand why we were still dragging girls and working our country 4 or 5 times. The block we're in here today, it hasn't been worked for roughly 12 years. Where we're standing here today in a big flood's about 1 metre of water here, that gives you some sort of perspective on why we try and retain stubble cover on this country. We feed our crops probably 60% of their nitrogen. We use a fair bit of zinc, there's a little bit of trace element, and we have a potassium, phosphorus and boron programs in place with a manure history on this country. Our use of starter fertiliser is reasonably low. We try and manage it through keeping our microbial activity up. We do find they do make a difference with plant health, lower disease, and we find the vigour of our plants seems to be significantly different. It's just trying to manage that ground cover that basically holds our water, stores our nutrient and basically gives this country the ability to perform. As our reliance is higher on chemicals, we have to be careful, obviously with plant-back periods, but not only that, the cumulative effect of SUs and that sort of thing. Weed resistance to our various chemical groups is probably going to be our most significant thing that we'll have to manage over the next 10 or 15 years moving forward. A strategic cultivation, I think, is probably the answer. I mean, with all these things, it's a work in progress. It's definitely not perfect, but it seems to be able to produce. So far, so good.
Northwest Local Land Services would like to acknowledge funding from the Australian Government for this project.